You know that feeling? You're stuck in what they call tutorial hell. You can follow along with a dozen JavaScript courses just fine, but the second you try to build something on your own, you feel completely lost. Well, if that's you, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to talk about how to get out of that rut and move from just copying code to actually understanding it.
Oh man, we have all been here. You're just staring at the screen, you are absolutely positive you told the code what to do, but the page just sits there. It's not listening. It's probably one of the most common and, most frustrating moments for any developer.
So here's the big secret. Getting unstuck? It's not about memorizing more syntax or learning the next new framework. It's actually about changing the way you think about your code. It's all about building a real, deep intuition for what's happening behind the scenes.
First things first, let's name the villain here, the copy-paste trap. You know the cycle. You hit a snag, you immediately Google for an answer, and you paste some solution into your project without really getting how it works. Sure, it might fix the problem for a minute, but it robs you of the one thing you really want, confidence.
So, do any of these sound familiar? That weird feeling when your code is working but you have no idea why? Or that imposter syndrome that just kind of creeps in? How about the fear that if you change one little thing, the whole project is just going to collapse like a house of cards? These are all symptoms of the trap. And yeah, that console.log you're using for absolutely everything? We see you. We'll get to that.
So how do we actually escape this trap? The answer is by building what are called mental models. Just think of them as your own internal cheat sheets for how JavaScript actually behaves. When you've got a solid mental model, you can pretty much predict what your code is going to do before you even run it.
Okay, this right here, this is the source of so much pain for new developers. Let's think of it this way. All your data, your variables, your arrays, your objects, that's like your private notebook. It's the source of truth. But the DOM, what the user actually sees on the web page, that's like a public whiteboard. Now, just because you write something down in your private notebook doesn't mean it magically appears on the public whiteboard. You have to explicitly take what's in your notes and go redraw it for everyone to see.
Let's try another one, this time for async code. So synchronous code is like a vending machine. You put your money in, you press the button, and you just wait. The whole world stops until that bag of chips drops. But async code, like fetching data from a server, that's more like ordering food delivery. You place your order, and then you go on with your life. The program keeps running, and the data just shows up whenever it's ready. So to put it really simply, a mental model is just your internal explanation for how something works. When your mental model for JavaScript is accurate, you can literally run the code in your head and see the bugs before they even happen. It's like a superpower.
And this is the real takeaway. When your code breaks, it's almost never because JavaScript decided to be weird or random. It's because there's a gap between what you thought was going to happen and what the code actually does. Your mental model was flawed. And fixing that model in your head, that is the absolute best way to fix the bugs in your code.
Okay, so we get it. We need to build these mental models. But how? How do we actually do that? Well, it might sound a little strange, but one of the best ways is to actually step away from the computer.
This right here is the secret weapon. When you write code by hand, in a notebook, you strip away all those digital crutches. There's no autocomplete to guess what you mean, no helpful enter to catch your typos. It's just you and your brain, forced to really internalize the logic in a way that just typing never will.
So here's a little daily routine you can start literally today. First, write some code by hand, just a simple function, a loop, from memory. Second, explain it out loud, like you're teaching it to someone. They call this rubber ducking, and you'll be amazed at the logical flaws you catch in your own thinking. Third, manually trace your variables on paper, track their values step by step through a loop. And finally, solve one small problem in 3 different ways. This forces you to understand the concept, not just one memorized answer.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about another critical skill, debugging. And I don't just mean throwing console.logs everywhere and hoping for the best. We need to debug with intention, with a real strategy. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second. When something breaks, is your very first and maybe only instinct to just sprinkle console.log statements all over your code? If the answer is yes, you are missing out on an entire toolkit of much more powerful tools that are built right into your browser.
Just take a look at this. Instead of trying to console.log a big array of objects, try console.table. You'll get this beautiful, clean grid. Need to follow a really complex series of events? Wrap it in a console.group to organize your output. Want to see how fast your code is? Console.time is your best friend. Using the right tool for the job makes finding bugs so much faster.
So, let's bring this all home. Building mental models, practicing away from the screen, debugging with intention, these aren't just little tricks. They're the core pillars that support the big goal, becoming a truly confident, independent developer.
This is where we want to get to, the point where your first instinct when you hit a problem isn't to open a new tab and start Googling, but to start breaking down the problem yourself based on your solid understanding of how the language works. That is what real fluency looks like. I love this quote because it just completely flips the script. JavaScript isn't being tricky or mysterious on purpose. It's a very simple machine that follows instructions perfectly. So if the output on the screen is wrong, it just means the instructions were wrong. The bug isn't in the machine. It's in the blueprint you gave it.
And that leaves us with one last big question. The next time your page doesn't update, just ask yourself this: is the problem just a typo in the code? Or is it a sign that maybe you need to pause, take a step back, and work on your mental model of what's really going on?